Okay, welcome, and now we're going to do an example of graphing a cotangent function. So in this case here we have y equals 3 cotangent 4x, and so now we're going to again highlight the characteristics here that are going to help us graph this thing. So for example, I'm going to be looking for what's the a, right? What's a, what's b, which is going to give me the period, and where are the asymptotes located. That's really what I want to know. Okay, so again, a here is equal to 3. Notice it's positive 3. There's no negative sign out here, so it's not a reflection, okay, across the x-axis. What else? B is equal to 4, which then tells me that the period, again, in this case, the period is pi over the absolute value of b. So it's going to be pi over 4, right? So the period is pi over 4, which means the asymptotes are going to happen at intervals that are half of that length, right? So the period is pi over 4, so that's when I'm going to have, or excuse me, is going to have pi over 4, right? So that's going to be the length of the period. Right? Now in this case here, it's not going to be half of that. I was thinking secant and cosecant. In this case here, because we're dealing with, again, how far do we need to go before the pattern repeats itself? So, since I know that this is the period, I know the asymptotes are going to happen at that interval. Okay? Now, I just need one asymptote. Well, I know the asymptotes are going to happen when this is equal to 0. That's when it's going to be undefined. So I know it's going to happen at 0 because when x is 0, this is 0, and this will be undefined. So guess what? I know that I'm going to have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. So that means, now here's where I want to, now I'm going to basically do my scale. And so let's do pi over 2, or no, pi over 8. Yeah, because I want my intervals, my tick marks to be smaller. Since this is a 1 period, let's do 8s. So this will be pi over 8, pi over 4, 3 pi over 8, pi over 2, 5 pi over 8, and 3 pi over 4. Okay, so I'm not going to do any more, but I know that now every pi over 4 is going to be an asymptote. Okay, and you can verify that, right? Because if I do pi over 4 here, guess what? I get pi. And so cotangent of pi is undefined. So that confirms that I'm right. So pi over 4, so I'm going to go every pi over 4, which is going to be right here. So there's going to be an asymptote here. And then at 2 pi over 4, right? So 2 pi over 4, which is 1/2, so there's going to be an asymptote here. And so you can see that's the pattern, right? Now, since it's not reflected and I know how the basic function works, right? And I also know that it has to go through pi over 8. Why? Because cotangent is going to be 0, right, in between. Okay? So where's it going to be to 0? Well, I know in this case here, cotangent is going to be 0 when this argument is pi over 8. Because then I get pi over 2. And we know that the cotangent of pi over 2 is the same as tangent of pi over 2. Okay? And it's going to be 0. So we know we're going to have a 0 here, and then that's going to repeat. Okay? And we know that it's a decreasing function because tangent is an increasing function. And the fact that this is not negative. Now, we can also pick a couple of reference points. So again, remember like we did before, we could pick halfway through here because the period is pi over 4, which means we can divide this by 4, which means we can put in an eighth. So there's going to be an eighth. So what happens if we put in pi over 8 here? Well, we get what? Pi over 2, and this is going to be equal to, pi over 16 is what I meant. So if we put in pi over 16, what do we get? Well, there's a reason why I put in pi over 16, because pi over 16 will give me pi over 4. And so what is the cotangent of pi over 4? Well, it's a 45 degree angle, which gives me 1. So that means when this is pi over 16, I'm going to get y equals 3. So it gives me an easy point to plot. Okay? And so my first one is going to be at right here, pi 16 and 3. So I'm going to put my 3. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do -3. And so my first one is going to be here at halfway here. So pi over 16 and 3. So about right there. And this one over here is going to be below it. So that's going to be at pi over 16 here. So that's going to be 3 pi over 16, which is going to be right about here. And so now I just have to connect the dots, and I'm done. And then this pattern will repeat itself indefinitely. And that's all you have to do. Have a great day.